Okay. This is my first time. Let's see. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay. Comments. Okay. Hello. Shalom. Habari. Hello, everyone. This is my first StreamYard, live StreamYard. I wanted to try StreamYard today. I wanted to stream today. And so this is my first time. So I'm trying this out, everybody. So, yeah, I'm so super duper excited about this. I'm going to try to see how I can put my banners, brand, private chat, live viewer comment show up. So this is new to me, y'all. So I'm just, let's see, invite. Everybody gets to studio. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Wanda. This is Diaspora Connect. So I wanted to do this stream today, and I wanted to discuss this. Why do African Americans have a feeling of entitlement? I have heard a lot of continental Africans mention this about us, and yeah, I wanted to talk about it. Um, this is my first StreamYard, y'all. So please excuse me. I'm just trying this thing. It's new to me. And so I wanted to do this stream today and talk about it. Why do African Americans have a feeling of entitlement? I hear that a lot. So especially from continental Africans. So I wanted to just share as to maybe some reasons why maybe that some of us act like this, starting with the fact that the way we were raised, right? So being born and raised in America, you were taught negative things about Africa. We were taught negative things about Africa. We were taught negative things about Africans in America. We were raised with these negative ideas, right? So being raised and talking against Africa, saying, being taught that it was poverty and third world country and all that stuff, you know, and also the mindset of Americans being in America. Hi, Miss Clean. So the mindset of being born and raised in America is this always been like this kind of superior. America is number one, and America is the superpower and the best, and this and that has been ingrained in. I'm doing well, Miss Queen. I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. Hey, this is my first time doing a stream, y'all. This is my first time using StreamYard. So I'm trying to learn something new. Y'all know how some of us older folks is. We just like, I don't know about that. But I'm trying it, y'all. But I wanted to talk about this. Why do African Americans have a feeling of entitlement? And a lot of thank you. Welcome in the room. See, Tommy, welcome in the room, fam. Welcome in the room. I wanted to do this to have this discussion of why do African Americans have a feeling of entitlement. This is specifically for continental Africans because they say this a lot, and we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this, okay? Now, I was trying to go back to the fact of how we were raised. In a country where it's supposed to be so superior to everybody, the superpower supposed to be, a country where everybody wants to come to it. So sometimes a lot of Americans feel like that we're better than other countries. We're better with that ingrained in us growing up, from these presidents saying it to all the other countries, wanting to come here, all these other people in the different countries wanting to come here. That's true, Miss Queen. So we were raised with a superiority idea, mindset, because we was raised like that in the country, right? So when we look at Africa, it's considered like a third, any third, so-called third world country, which compared to America back in the day, because right now we know the truth, but raised in an environment like that, when we come to Africa and we come over here having a certain mindset and used to certain things, used to certain conveniences, right? So when we come over to Africa, or any third world country for that matter, we tend to compare it. We tend to compare it to America. Oh, in America, we have this, we have that. They may not have that in certain parts of Africa, or certain parts of different third world countries, right? And we tend to compare it. So our intention is not to be mean and evil about it, right? It's just the way some of us were raised. We just feel entitled, and a lot of us in America do. Like, I have family members that kind of feel like that, I can't go to Africa. When I was trying to come to Africa, they were like, oh, I can't go over there. They don't have, the electricity might not be, the water might not be, this. Even some of my own family feel that way about me. They'll see my house and be like, I ain't coming to your house because, it ain't nice enough. So, Miss Queen, what you say? When I lived outside of America, those people also felt their country was, a lot of people do feel that way. But what I'm trying to address in this, a lot of the continental Africans feel like we as African Americans have a feeling of entitlement. Like, when we come over here, we're entitled to, we feel entitled over here. But a lot of us don't come over here to be mean about it, right? We don't come over here to be to bully people. Like, we've never taken anybody into slavery. So if we come over here and we see things that maybe could improve, I say it that way, right? If we see things that, greetings on Serial, greetings, welcome to my StreamYard. This is my first time and I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to learn it, actually. So thank you for coming in the room. But I wanted us to talk about why some continental Africans specifically, they say that African Americans have a feeling of entitlement. But what I was saying is, a lot of times we'll come over here and we'll see things that need to improve, and we'll try to do things or say things of how we can improve or change things. But I think people get offended sometimes because they feel like, we're doing it this way and it's been like this, like on the continent, we've been doing it this way. Who are you to come over here and think you want to try to change this? But the intention is not to be mean. It's just to improve, to make it better, to try to make it better. And some of the things that we're used to in America, we go to other countries, so-called third world countries, and they may not have those conveniences. Then we do, sometimes we have a hard time adjusting, some of us, but it's not to be mean. This feeling of entitlement, I feel like it has a lot to do with how you were raised, right? So I don't feel like some of the continental Africans should take it and be angry with us, some of us, because of it. I feel like if they're rude to you in the way that they come across to you, if they're ugly about it, then that's one thing. But if they just are accustomed to certain things in their country, and we come over here and we don't get it, and sometimes we complain about it, it doesn't mean that we're not a nice person. It doesn't mean that we are a horrible person, because we are accustomed to certain things, is what I'm saying, right? So Miss Queen says, I think Africans are entitled the way they think. Yes, I think everyone, I think also, exactly, Miss Queen, I think everyone has a sense of entitlement to a point, to a point, some more than others. Like I said, for example, with my family, you know, they've always had a lot more than me, right? So I could say they have a feeling of entitlement because they're kind of uppity, right? But everybody's not like that. Everybody in the whole country is not like that. And certain people are accustomed to living a certain way, right? They're accustomed to living a certain way. So if you are a king, and I'm not saying we're kings, I'm just saying if you are a king, you're accustomed to a certain service of living at a certain standard, right? If you go into an environment and they don't treat you with respect and they don't treat you like a king, if you are a king or queen, then you're going to feel some kind of way. And some people might look at it, oh, they have a feeling of entitlement, but well, they are entitled because they are a king or they are a queen. So they're used to certain things and a certain level of treatment, right? So we can't be upset with a king or queen because they're expecting the same level of respect or quality of treatment everywhere they go because of their status, right? So with us, not that I'm just saying for that, not that we're kings or queens or anything like that. But coming from America, we're used to certain standards and certain developments, right? So when we come outside of there and we don't get it, yes, we sometimes do tend to compare America to that place, which is not the best thing, but that's the only example that we have to compare. Like if we've never left America and we finally leave and we come to Africa, you know, we see things that are different. We may say, oh, well, in America, it's like this. It's not meaning to be like a mean person, not meaning to, you know, be a horrible person. We just identifying that in America is like this, in Africa is like this. It's different. So at this point, we have to adjust. If we want to be here in Africa or whatever country you decide to go to, we have to adjust to how things are done there. So it's just that adjustment period that sometimes people struggle with, that adjusting. And even if you're from Africa and you go to America, I think it's a little bit different. The adjusting is different because you're leaving a place that's not as developed to a place that's developed. So it's a little easier to adjust to the conveniences in America versus us coming from America back to Africa and adjusting. So think about the adjustment period on both ends for both people. Africans going to America adjusting, and then African Americans coming from there and adjusting to Africa. It would be more of a struggle for someone in America that's used to like all the conveniences and development to come to a place that's not developed. It would take a little bit more of adjustment. So in that aspect, we have to consider, you know, you got to be patient with us in adjusting to this different environment. Let me read some of these comments. Understanding that. Yeah, they can't feel the way. Yeah. Right. That's true. So that's where that sense of entitlement can come in. Like Miss Queen said, she said when she lived in Italy, they didn't have a lot of the things that she was accustomed to living in America, but she loved it. Same with me. They don't have all the conveniences here in Tanzania like they do in America, but I love it. I love it here because I love nature. I love living, I want to be more sustainable. I want to live more sustainably. I love this more natural environment than all the concrete jungle. Yeah, I prefer the natural environment. So for me, it's beautiful. Like you don't hear me complaining a lot about stuff because you don't hear me complain a lot about stuff because I like more here than I don't like. And even with the lights out, sometimes electricity power outs, and even with the, water issues I've had, I've gone 30 days without water, and then I had to buy water and do like a bucket bath. So you don't really hear me complaining because I'm adjusting to the different little things that are not convenient for me. I'm adjusting to it because I love it here, and I love Africa, and I love Tanzania specifically. I adjust because I know they're two different worlds. It's two different worlds, two different. It's no comparison to me. I don't even compare it to America because it's no comparison. So that feeling of entitlement can come from a number of things for a number of people. But the thing is, we have to realize for the continental Africans to understand that we are all different. All of us are not the same. So some people may have that you've experienced or seen, but some of us don't. So we can't group everybody together and say all African Americans feel entitled, because that's not true. It's really not true. So I think we should be a little bit more open to learning about each other. Just like we as African Americans, we have to be more open to learning about the cultural differences in Africa. So like, for example, the video I did about why African American women come to Africa and date younger men. A lot of continental Africans were saying it's against their culture. Like they don't do that and all this. But my thing is, things are changing because it's happening. Like, I know I can get comments where continental Africans are saying that, Africans don't normally do that. African men don't normally date older women, but they're dating older women now. So instead of looking back and saying they don't do it, okay, they don't do it, but they're doing it now. So how do we move forward from here? It is happening. We can't go back and say it's culturally, and you can say it, that it's culturally not acceptable or whatever for an African man to date an older woman, African American woman or whatever, but it's happening. So how do we move forward, and how are we accepting this? How are we dealing with this? What are we thinking about this? We have to move forward. We can't live in the past and be like, it's wrong, so it's not going to happen. It's happening right now. So how do we change our mind and think about it? How do we move forward? And even with this idea, Janelle, welcome. Yes, tips for people on how to prepare for the challenges when coming back to Africa. I can give some tips, a lot of tips, y'all. And the tips are probably you've heard them before. See, tell me, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So some tips. So getting off this topic a little bit, some tips to prepare for coming to Africa. The physical preparation is one thing, but there is a mental, spiritual preparation that needs to take place as well. So the mindset, and you're preparing spiritually, because Africa is a very spiritual place. So, oh yes, Janelle, that would be a good video to make. But I think a lot of people have made videos about tips for people and how to prepare for challenges when coming to Africa. There are a lot of videos about that. And each country, people who have been in that country at least 6 months to a year can provide, pointers. And I think in a lot of consultations, they do that too. They try to prepare the people, their mind, and, how to accept the changes, because it's a cultural difference altogether in the mindset and physically everything. It's just a culture. It's a different culture. It's like almost like a different world, if you can look at it like that. So you have African Americans coming from one world, and we coming over here to Africa, and with that same mindset of how we were, what we used to in America, all these conveniences we're used to. We don't have lights out. We don't have normally water problems. It's a lot of conveniences. Roads are paved, and it's a lot of conveniences that we're accustomed to, that we were raised with. So when we come over to Africa, you might hear African Americans complain about the unpaved roads, the power going out, the water issues, and, you know, some of the customer service issues. You know, you may hear them complaining, and you may look at it like it's an entitlement. They feel entitled so they can come over here and complain. No, we see what we're used to, how we're used to living and what we're used to dealing with, and we come over here and we don't. It's not here, but it's not that we're not willing to help to improve. That's what it is. It's not like we're not willing to help improve those areas, one idea at a time, or one maybe business at a time. We always are looking for ways to improve Africa, to help improve. Africa is doing its own thing. It don't really need us to do what it's doing, but we want to contribute to the improvement if we want to come over here and live and build and you know, raise our families. We want to know what we can do to be an asset to the continent, to help improve the continent. Lovely D Delight. Lovely D Light. Yeah, she said, I definitely don't feel entitled. Yeah, I have to fight hard. I had to put myself through. Yes, I had to. Exactly. I'm so sorry to hear that about the white folks I had to punish. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I don't either. She told me one tip. Have a time limit. For example, in some European countries, it's like 5 years. Yeah, for residency permits is every 2 years. So for residency permit, you have to renew every 2 years. Yeah. So, and there are different types of, it's like a whole list of different types of residency permits that you can apply for based on what you want to do here. You know, business, or you know, just whatever you want to do. Some people do volunteer at this Christian church, missionary stuff. And so it's a bunch of different, and all of that's online. They'll tell you what type of residency through their immigration website. They'll tell you all kinds of different residency permits, but it's every 2 years you have to renew. But if you create a business though, no, that's okay. See, Tommy, it's okay. I expected that, so that's fine. So if you create a business though, you can create a business, you get a work permit, and you can get a residency for here. And then even once you get that work permit, once you get that residency, you just renew that every 2 years. So yeah, but yeah, it's different ways that you can get residency permits to stay. But yeah, for this feeling of entitlement, I wanted to touch on it because I've heard a lot of continental Africans say that, oh, African Americans feel entitled. So it's unfair to us that if we complain about something, then it's a feeling of entitlement. We feel entitled because we complain about something. Like, that's not, we're not feeling entitled if we complain about something, especially if it affected us in a negative way. So if we get overcharged and we complain about it, no one should say, oh, they feel entitled. We shouldn't be getting overcharged. You know what I'm saying? So if we complain about bad customer service, you know, when I say bad customer service, meaning, you know, we don't get, people are not coming back. We don't have a fork. We don't have whatever. We don't have our drinks. We don't have our food at all. It has to be bad, not just complain about little stuff. But if we complain about a true customer service problem, then we're considered entitled. Everything that we come over, when we come to Africa and we complain about certain things, and some, not all, some of the locals, they feel like we feel entitled, but we're entitled as human beings just for basic human decency, in that if we're paying for a service, we should get the service. So if we don't get the service and we pay for it and we complain, then we're accused of being entitled, and that ain't fair. It's not fair. If you go to a restaurant and you paying for food, especially if the restaurant is costly, is pricey, and you paying your hard-earned money for food, you expect a certain service if you're paying. Now, if it's free, then you can't complain about what type of service that you get. But if you're paying your hard-earned money for a service, you should get a certain quality of service. And so if you don't, then you're going to complain. I mean, yeah. I mean, so we shouldn't be considered called entitled if we complain about that. If we complain about wrongs that are done, like being overcharged, or if we complain about some of the difficulties in becoming citizens, or getting residency, and we might complain about the cost, or we might complain about having to renew it certain amounts of time. Some continents of Africans feel like we're entitled. We feel entitled because in America, a lot of them say, well, in America, but the thing that y'all fail to realize, as African Americans, we don't make the laws in America. America considers us a slave class. We don't make no laws. We got to follow the laws, and we don't follow the immigration laws because we was born there, but we don't make those laws. So you can't compare it to when we come to Africa, and we might complain as African Americans, or African, Black British, or, Africans from Jamaica, or Canada, or whatever. And we come here, the Netherlands, we come here and we complain about stuff that's subpar, and we complain about that. Then continental Africans say, oh, you feel entitled. Well, we're trying to help get you to where you're not subpar. We're trying to help you improve. And we're, even with the fees that we're being charged as diaspora to get work permits, residencies, and stuff, you hear diaspora all the way across the board complain about the prices. That's not an entitlement feeling. It's the fact that we are Africans as well. And I mean, you make some of the continental Africans, they see us as, foreigners, whatever, but we are Africans as well. We was stolen from Africa and taken to America. All Africans come from Africa. So if we complain about being charged a lot for residencies and work permits and stuff like that, and having to renew and stuff like that, then it's because we are from Africa. That's why we complain about that. It's not an entitlement. And actually, we are in a way, we are entitled to should be able to come back to Africa and not have to pay all these high monies and all this stuff. So in that aspect, they might feel like we're entitled, but I feel like, you wrong to feel that we're entitled to not have to pay to stay in Africa. Like, make it make sense. We are Africans. Yeah. Yes, it's the locals that feel that way. That too. Yeah, so I've had comments like that. Hey, Lady J, welcome. Shalom, family. I've had a lot of locals say that. Like, I watch different videos and I see them say it on different diasporas videos. If they complain about anything, like, I'll read through the comments, they'll say it on some of the videos that, the one that I made about why the, locals, why the African-American women date the younger, African men. I had some of those entitlement comments, but, it's happening. Entitlement don't have nothing to do with, like, almost like we feel like we're so special that everything's supposed to work around us and this and that. Some people feel like that, but all of us don't feel like that. All of us don't feel like that, but some of us do. But it's how we was raised. It's not like they come over here deliberately, or we come over here deliberately to be mean, to be ugly, to expect, the royal treatment. We know we ain't gonna get that nowhere, y'all. But the fact that y'all, what they fail to understand and realize is that we're paying our own money. So if we pay our money for a service, we do expect to get a certain service from it. And as far as us being, we're Africans, we were stolen from Africa. So we do feel somewhat of a sense of entitlement to living in Africa. We do feel that way. People might think it's wrong, or, continental Africans might think it's wrong for us to feel this way, but we're Africans. We're like the prodigal son. We're the prodigal son. So, I'm just reading some of the comments. Entitled apartment building cutting off. Yeah, no, this one is right. So that's what lovely delight, exactly. Maybe I feel, she says, maybe I feel entitled now. My apartment building cut our water off, no notice, water on door, the whole building without water right now, off for 2 hours. See, that's what I'm saying. When we have stuff like this that happens, then when we complain, it's just when we complain about stuff, then we feel entitled. But it's not fair. I'll say it like this. To the continental Africans, that ain't fair, because, we were stolen from here against our will. And I know that we're considered a slave class in America, but we're still Africans. And if your heart have a problem with us feeling like we know we're home in Africa, and we feel wronged for being charged to have to stay here, and you feel like we're entitled because we feel like it's wrong, like, make it make sense. Something wrong with your spirit, and something's off in your mind if you have a problem, because we have a problem because we have to pay to live in Africa. And yeah, because if you think about it, all these systems that set up anyway was set up by Mzungu and them. All these immigration things that was set up wasn't set up by Africans. It was set up by other nations to keep us from coming back here. So you fighting against us because you think we feel entitled to Africa, but birthright wise, it is part of ours too. So it is an entitlement because it was given to us too. We just were stolen away. So this conversation about us feeling entitled because we complain about something, it's just flat out wrong. Listen to why we complain. Listen to make sure that it is validity. Like, is she just complaining just to complain, or does she have validity? Is this complaint legitimate? Is she complaining about something that's legitimate? Like, does she have a reason to complain about this? Do African Americans have a reason to complain that we have to pay to live in Africa? Do we have a reason to complain about this? I'm not talking about comparing it to Americans saying, well, as continental Africans say, when we go to America, A, B, C, and D. Listen, we're not even considered Americans. We're African Americans. We're a lower class. They don't even consider us Americans. We don't make the laws. We don't make it. Yeah. So don't compare us, how we feel about Africa, to what you got to do in America. I see that a lot. And that's not the right comparison, because we don't make the laws as African Americans. We don't make the laws in America. We don't set up the immigration laws. So don't compare it to how we feel about having to pay to live in Africa. That's kind of like the disconnect, where there's a disconnect. And, you can be open if you want to and hear what we have to say and try to see what we can do to right or wrong, because it's wrong. Period, point blank. It's wrong that we can't live in Africa, and we're Africans. African American, Afro-British, Afro-Latino, from Jamaica, Haiti. And we wanted to come to Africa, Barbados, the islands, St. Thomas, Bahamas. If we want to come back to Momma Africa, where all Africans come from, that's what I'm saying. You feel like we're entitled because we're complaining that we have to pay to be here. Stop the madness. It's madness, and it's off. If you think like that, it's off. So, this feeling of entitlement, maybe that's what some locals feel like. We feel entitled because we complain about having to pay to live in Africa. Yes, wrong, because we're Africans. We were stolen from here. And even if we were aboriginals in America and there before Christopher Columbus, we still come from Africa. All human beings do. And we're African. So we gonna complain why we got to pay this and that to stay here. We got to get a residency permit to stay in Africa. Yeah, we're gonna complain about that, especially when it's a high price. A lot of us ain't rich, and so we're gonna complain. But is it warranted? Just answer that question. Is the complaint warranted? Are we just complaining and it's nothing to complain about? Is it warranted? That's why we're complaining about it. Yes, we were stolen. Lovely D Light, we were stolen, taken, and sold for a reason, and we were whipped into shape. The Creator, yes, let us know we had to be strong. We came to Africa because we love y'all. Where is the love? Exactly. Miss Kizzy, Miss Kizzy says, welcome, Miss Kizzy. How do you have to pay to live in Africa? We have to, because we're considered foreigners. So whatever passport you have, whatever Western passport that you have, and you come here, you're considered a foreigner. So you have to get a residency permit to stay in Africa. You have to, or get a passport. You can get citizenship. You can apply for a passport. So either way you go, you have to pay to live in Africa, whether it's through a passport, and sometimes you have to wait a certain number of years before you can get approved for having a passport to stay. You have to pay to stay in Africa. USA meets Kenya. Welcome to the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Some of the complaints are definitely not, but some are. I'm talking about the complaints of us having to pay to be in Africa. That's primarily what I'm focusing on. We can complain about a lot of stuff, but ask yourself, is this complaint, is this one does it have merit? Does this complaint have merit? Or yes or no? And weigh the options when you see people complaining. I see a lot of complaints from African Americans where they complaining because we can't stay in Africa, and we have to pay this large sum of money to stay, whether it's every 2 years, whether it's to just live in Africa. All the other complaints, they can be here nor there, but yeah. Aunt Nam, welcome to the chat. You said if you are an Aboriginal from America and everyone is from Africa, that means white people are also entitled to Africa. Make it make sense. Well, they are entitled to Africa. Look at South Africa. Look at South Africa. And I'm not talking about, they said that they're Afrikaans. They said they're African. So I'm not, this focus and this conversation is about African Americans, not other nations. All Africans, I didn't say all people, but maybe I did say all people. All Africans come from Africa. Let me clarify that. All Africans come from Africa. Okay, so that being the case, whether you was in America before you came, before Christopher Columbus found it, and all these other countries we were in before all these other nations came, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the whatever, all these other people, China, Japan, whatever, we was there. A lot of us was there, and Egypt, a lot of us was there. So, but we come from Africa. So this is the complaint that a lot of African Americans have. Why do we have to pay to live in Africa, especially if we want to come back? Now, it's a lot that don't want to come back. It's a lot of African Americans that don't want to come back to Africa. Everybody don't want to come back, but there are some who do want to come back, like myself, who have come back, who have been here for 4 years. So, for me, I don't complain about the systems because, it's a system. It's a system. There are systems everywhere you go. And for me, I just try to figure out how to work with that system is what I try to do. instead of complaining about it, because for me personally, complaining is not going to change the system. So what I try to do is I try to work with the system that's in place. So if I know I want to go to a country and I want to stay, I have to follow the guidelines. I have to figure out what I'm going to do there, why I'm there, and what I'm going to do there, and then set up something to make it possible for me to stay. That's what I do. So, yeah, Miss Kizzy, welcome to the chat. When foreigners are like, I know a lot of continental Africans say when they go to America, they have to do a lot. They have to pay, I don't know, all the fees. So they're comparing it to what we have to pay when we come to Africa as, diaspora or foreigner. They consider us foreigner. So they always say, well, in America, when we go to America, we have to pay da 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 da. We have to go through all this. Well, we as African Americans don't set up the rules and regulations and laws of immigration in America. So it's nothing we can do it's not in our hands. So I try to kind of make sure that message is getting across to continental Africans that we don't control that, USA Meets Kenya said there should be a way Black Americans could easily stay in Africa, but they wouldn't allow this unless Africans could go to US easily, sadly. Exactly, because of the passport that we hold. So when we're holding that passport, and so whatever agreement that Tanzania or whatever country made with that the US, we fall under those guidelines, even though we're African Americans and we're from Africa. So it's a situation that was not even set up by Africans. It wasn't set up. It was set up by other nations to keep us out, to keep us apart. These borders, immigration, all that was set up by the colonizers to keep us, because they knew someday we would wake up and we would all want to come back home together. And they made sure they had a system set up to where we couldn't comfortably do that. I'm seeing that, and a lot of us did not realize that living in America. Aunt Nam says within America or a country ethnicities are distinct. Outside of the country, everyone is treated as a nationality. So the Nigerians are treated as Nigerians, and Americans are treated as exactly. So when they see us as Americans, which we're not. We're from America, but we're not Americans, which is what the problem is. Do so at their own. Yeah, that's true. Diane Whitaker, welcome, Diane. She said, Africans that migrate to America do so at their own free will. So, of course, they will have the fee. We were taken, stolen, and sold. So why should we have to pay to return, which is true. That's very true, Diane. And exactly. So this is the difference. They go, like she said, they go out of their free will. We were stolen against our will. So it's two different situations. So for the continental Africans to say, to me, or any of us, when we complain about all these immigration fees and all this, in America, we do, like, that don't have nothing to do with us. We're from Africa. That don't have nothing to do with us. And you're going over there willingly. So you want to willingly pay that. We're coming back home, supposedly. Everybody keeps saying come back home. It is our home. They even know it's our home. The government even know it's our home. Everybody know it's our home. But what is being done to allow us to come home and not have to spend tons of money that a lot of us don't have? I feel like if there were opportunities for us to come back and programs set up, then maybe more would want to come. But it's a lot of African Americans that don't want to come back to Africa. It's a lot of them that don't. It's a few of us. The number that's coming over here is very few compared to the number that's staying in America. Believe me, it's not as many coming over as wants to stay. And a lot of the reasons why they wouldn't leave or they don't want to come over, because it's difficult. it's expensive, and it's not, they don't feel, based on the experience of the ones that are over here, they don't feel like they're being welcomed, that, we're being welcomed, and they're setting up programs and things, the government, to allow us to easily transition and come back home. We got to spend our own money. You say come back home, but we got to spend our own money. So yeah, that is I think that's where the entitlement feels like, when I say that, a lot of African continental Africans say that African Americans feel entitled. I think that's probably where they see that entitlement. We are entitled though, because we're Africans. We were stolen. So we are entitled. This is our motherland too. That's the thing. So I think a lot of them had that issue with us thinking that this is our land too. It is. It belongs to us too. We're Africans. We were stolen. It's the motherland. It's our motherland too. So we're the prodigal son and daughters. So we do have a right to feel that Africa belongs to us too. And if you have a problem with that, and you think something's wrong with that, you think we are wrong, we're wrong for feeling that Africa belongs to us too, then I feel like you need to check your spirit. I feel like you need to check your heart. I feel like you need to pray, because the script is all in the scriptures. If you subscribe to the biblical scriptures, it's all in that we will come back home. Everybody keeps saying it's our home. So what's the problem with us feeling like Africa is ours, just like it's everybody else's too? Why then, Lovely D Light said, why when Caucasians bring money, they bow down and open their arms, but when we come with money, we are demonetized or demonized? Demonetized? Either demonetized or demonized, but exactly, we're not treated the same when it comes to coming back, and we're not the same as Mzungu and them. We're not the same. For the year return, why don't USA meets Kenya says, if Black Americans brought in a lot of money to Ghana for the year return for the year return, why don't they loosen the restrictions more for allowing us back? Exactly, USA meets Kenya. Exactly. So I feel like we're doing our part. I feel like we're trying, but as a collective, even if we're not together as one, people keep saying African Americans, we don't work together. We're not. As a collective, look at it as a collective of the things we've done in Ghana. As a collective, look at the things we've done in Tanzania. The economy improved when everybody else's economy went down because of COVID. Tanzania economy boosted, improved, and that's because we was coming over here. But no, we might not have done anything together as a massive collective. I agree. Example, Ghana does dual citizenship. Tanzania is starting with special status for Tanzanians first, but they should transition. I agree with that. USA meets Kenya. They should have, all the countries should have something in place for us. Vietnam, Black Americans were stolen even before from West Africa. We were taken into slaves here in Tanzania, and Bagamoyo, and Prison Island in Zanzibar. So this was even before the transatlantic slave trade, where a lot of the slaves was taken off the west coast of Africa. A lot of us was shipped from here throughout Africa. So it was a slave trade in East Africa too. They know that the Arabs took us into slavery first, and that was a horrible slavery in East Africa. I'm learning a lot about it since I've been over here. So East Africa had, if not more, then West Africa was just the route where they took us out of. But it was a lot of us in Tanzania and right here in Bagamoyo. I went to the slave port in Bagamoyo, and on Prison Island in Zanzibar, the Arabs did that, and we were migrating then towards West Africa to go out on them ships. It's just West Africa is where the ships was, but we were slaves in East Africa too. You got a door no return in Zanzibar too. Yeah, so East Africa had just as much slavery as West Africa. Everybody keeps saying that we only was from West Africa and all that. No, we was in East Africa too. Africans, Santino Oifa, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the conversation. He said Africans coming to America is based on the impact of colonization from the West. It is a deep-rooted structured barrier, which is true. Africans have been traumatized by slavery, which is true, and people do not seem to get that. We do get that. Santino, we do get that. We know that when we were stolen and we were taken into slavery, colonization, it was here. They came here and did it here. So they took us to their land, but they left, they stayed here and they colonized the continent and they took all the resources. And that's why you got poverty, because they set up systems in Africa. So we all understand that too. We do understand that, but we're trying to figure, we want to come back to help improve this system, this poverty system that was set up by the colonizers. They put all these systems in place. They're the ones who set up the immigration laws. They're the ones who divided the continent. So we know that colonization was here in Africa. That's why we're having a problem being able to come over here, because they made sure that we wouldn't be able to come back. They set up systems to keep us from coming back. Immigration laws, no possibility for citizenship in Tanzania because they don't have dual citizenship. They set that up on purpose. So we know colonization was here in Africa. We definitely know, and we see the impact of it because they take all the resources, and there should be no poverty in Africa because everything is here. So we know that that system is set up and it's a stronghold in Africa. But we're looking at the angle coming from America being taken away. It's a two things was going on at the same time. We know that colonization, slavery, the slavery slave trade took our people away. They stayed and set up systems to make sure that everybody wouldn't get together. They don't want us to come together. So what we have to do, we have to come together. We have to start loving each other. We have to start understanding each other. We got cultures. The continent got all these different cultures and tribes. We got to respect that. And we got stuff we got going on from America. We have our own little culture, our own little tribe. People say we don't have a culture. We do. We do, because everybody in the world follows what we do. So we're the same people. We just been separated by this system of colonization, slavery and colonization. How can we get past this? Y'all, how can we get past this? We got to get past this some kind of way. Got to have a conversation. We can't keep bashing each other, blaming each other, and pointing a finger at each other instead of pointing it like this, so we come together and figure out how we can work around this colonization type of immigration system that was set up to keep us apart, to make us hate each other, to make it to where we can't come together and work together, hand in hand. Not all of the East African slavery was sent to the Middle East. A lot of it a lot of the slaves some slaves were taken, but some of the people didn't. Like when you have slavery, they don't get all the people. So when we were stolen, our ancestors were stolen from Africa and taken from the Congo. The first ship went to America, right? They didn't get all of the people. They got some of the slaves. Same thing in East Africa. When they enslaved some of the people, some of them got away and they migrated out of the area. They migrated from Zanzibar, from Tanzania, and they ran into Central Africa and other areas. They dispersed. So all of some of the slaves that they took did go to the Middle East, but you had some families left here and some that ran into the center of the continent. In Southern Africa, a lot of the tribes ran down Southern Africa too. So it's more than just the Middle East. East Africa had a big hand in slavery, just like West Africa. I don't know why people keep leaving East Africa out. It did the same thing as what happened in Ghana. People were enslaved. There's slave dungeons here in East Africa. And Arabs did it first. So, yeah. But we have to figure out what we can do as a collective. Africans and African Americans coming together instead of us fighting each other. We're not getting nowhere. We're not getting nowhere being, oh, you entitled. Okay, you can throw that word around for years. What is going to change? How are we going to improve Africa together? That's the goal. Us working together to improve Africa. So we got to have this conversation about, what can we do? Yeah, you're going to have Americans complain because it's different. I mean, that's something that, you can't stop people from complaining. But what can we do to try to work together to build Africa, love each other, make right the wrongs, the wrong that was done to Africa and the wrong that was done to us? We were stolen away against our will. Africa was colonized. What can we do, y'all? What can we do instead of pointing the fingers? Oh, those African Americans that coming over here, it's not culturally right for the African American women to date these younger men and this and that. It's happening. It's happening. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. Nobody can stop it. So where do we go from here? Can we just move forward and see how we can work together, what we can do to benefit? If we can build some stuff, buy some land, if we can farm, if we can grow some sunflowers, can we do something productive? DNA shows that African Black diaspora are from East and Middle East and Southern Africa, because we are Bantus. Black Americans are Bantu people. And so when you research the Bantu migration, we are those people. Black Americans, we are African Americans, we are Bantu. So most of the Bantu tribes are East, Mid, and Southern Africa. We were dispersed. We migrated. So it started in East Africa. That was the start of it. And all the disbursement, they started taking us out on the west side. It didn't start on the west side. So East Africa is just as involved as West. I don't know why people keep saying that. It's a lot of us in East Africa for some reason. Why are we drawn to East Africa? It's a reason, it's a spirit behind it. I've been to Ghana and I don't feel like that's my home. I don't feel like my ancestors was there. I feel like they were in East Africa. That's just me. That's just my spirit. Good afternoon, Tony. Welcome to the stream. This is my first time doing a StreamYard, Tony, and I'm trying. See, Tommy, interestingly, that is Tanganyika case, aka Tanzania. The change needs to be working together and setting an example. It shouldn't just be us, but we should work together, be understanding. I agree. The entitlement is antonym. I notice a lot of the continental Africans say that African Americans feel a sense of entitlement. So I wanted to talk about that because let's talk about why. Well, why? Why do I keep hearing that on so many different people's videos? So I wanted us to talk about that. And now I'm thinking it's more about us feeling like we shouldn't have to pay all these high fees to come to Africa or go through all this, immigration, all this money to be in Africa when we are from Africa, when we were stolen against our will. And I think that might be the entitlement that some continental Africans feel like we feel entitled. Well, we are entitled to Africa because it's still our home too. Part of Africa, we come from Africa. So we are entitled to be in Africa. So maybe that is the entitlement problem that some locals have. But what's wrong with us feeling that way? What's wrong with that? Like, is that a sin? Like, is that so wrong for us as African Americans? Everybody know the history. If you don't, transatlantic slave trade, right? What is wrong with us feeling like Africa is our home too, and we deserve to be able to be here without having to pay an enormous amount of money to be here? What's wrong with that? Is that a sin? Like, are we demons because we feel like the motherland? And I'm African, I'm Afro-American, right? I'm African descent. Is it wrong for me to feel like Africa, the motherland, is my home and it belongs to me too, and I shouldn't have to pay enormous amounts of money to be here? Is that wrong for me to feel that way? Some people feel like yes. Some continental Africans feel like that's a feeling of entitlement. We feel entitled to motherland. We are, you guys. Come on, be real about it. Thank you, Aunt Now. Welcome. I mean, we got to talk. We got to get to the heart of the matter of why we feel entitled to Africa. And I feel like that's the reason why a lot of continental Africans say that we feel entitled to Africa, to the motherland. And we are, though. We are, fam. And I'm talking to my continental African brothers and sisters, fam. Y'all, fam. We won. We are entitled to Africa too, because we were stolen from the motherland. And so if we complain about having to pay enormous amounts of money just to be in our home, that's not wrong. It might be entitlement because we do feel entitled. In a way, I feel like maybe we do because it's our home. Like, what's wrong with that? Is that wrong? Is that a sin? We shouldn't feel that way when we are African, when we were stolen from. We shouldn't feel that way. I mean, come on now, be realistic. Right. And now said Europeans are entitled to Europe. White people pay when they go to Europe. Yes, some of them they do. Black people need to get out of this welfare mentality. Okay, now I wanted to bring that up. Now, white people are entitled when they go to Europe. Yeah, they are entitled, but they have to pay. But it's different. The white people that are in Europe weren't stolen away against their will. So if they go to Europe and they're not from whatever European country, they probably get, I'm sorry, they don't have to pay a lot of money to stay there. I'm sure they get a break, but also they're going, willingly. Just like when Africans go to America, they go willingly. With us, it's different. You can't compare us to Europeans because we were stolen from here. And as far as a welfare mentality, that's not a welfare mentality. If we were stolen from Africa, and so it's our home. Africa is our motherland. So we're not asking for a free pass. We're saying, why is it so expensive? If we're paying $100, $200, $300 maybe, but we talking thousands of dollars to stay in Africa. It ain't a few $100s. And anything over $100, that's not a welfare mentality, because a welfare mentality is you want something for free. We're not asking for anything for free. Our tickets alone, the tickets, you might not know, but the tickets from America, that's not cheap. We're talking the tickets that we pay for, that right there. I mean, how can you have a welfare mentality when you're spending that kind of money on tickets to come here and then paying all this money for hotels and rentals and all the money that we spend to be in Africa? Believe me, that's not a welfare mentality. We're just asking for what's rightfully ours, because we've been stolen. Right. And we are Bantu. What's that? Yes, we are Bantu. Bantus migrate. Bantus were, but I know the history of the Bantu because we are Bantu. We are Bantu people. The Hebrews, the Israelites, the Black Americans, the African Americans, we are Bantu people. And majority of them are in Middle East and Southern Africa. and they migrated. It's more Bantu tribes in Tanzania than almost anywhere, right behind Southern Africa. So yes, we were in East Africa as well. You can't say that we weren't in East Africa. We were. The Arabs took us in slavery first. So yeah. So we're different. You can't compare. That's the thing. You comparing white Europeans to African Americans. It's no comparison, because white Europeans weren't stolen from their homeland. We were stolen. That's the point that continental Africans are not understanding. We were stolen against our will, and we were dispersed throughout the four corners of the earth. So that's why you have African or Black people everywhere. African, Black, British, you have in Dominican Republic, in the Caribbean, Mexico, Spain, you have us everywhere. How did we get everywhere? We were dispersed throughout the four corners of the earth, but we were taken from Africa. Look at the map of the transatlantic slave trade, and you'll see the ships and where they were dispersed to. We were dispersed to all those different places. So you can't compare us to white Europeans. We're not like white Europeans. And we don't have a welfare mentality. We're not asking people to give us something that is not rightfully ours. We're saying, why do we have to pay so much money to stay in a place that's our home? You can't compare us to white Europeans. You're comparing, Black Americans to white Europeans. Just like you keep saying Black Americans are Americans. We're not considered Americans. We're Black Americans. It's different. We don't get those privileges. You can't compare Black Americans to Europeans. Continental Africans, please stop doing that. Please stop comparing us to white people. We're different. We were stolen from Africa, so Africa is rightfully our motherland. White people were not stolen. They colonized Africa, like the ones in Southern Africa. The Dutch people, they came and colonized, which is why they're Afrikaners. We didn't do that. We were stolen. So you comparing apples and oranges. You comparing apples and oranges. Yeah, but we're not talking about, and now we're not talking about Nigerians. Let's focus on what we're talking about. We're talking about African Americans. Nigerians going where they want to go. They're not being taken as slaves. All these people that you're naming, these people weren't stolen from their families, broken up, their heritage and culture stolen. That didn't happen to Nigerians. Well, some of them did, but that didn't happen to white people. It happened to African Americans. No, not all the time. And now, not all the time, because I'm in East Africa and they never think I'm from Nigeria. I'm an African American in East Africa. And East African, the Southern Africans, they never think that I'm Nigerian. So that's a lie. That's not true that all Black Americans, that people everywhere think that all Black Americans are Nigerians. That's not true. I don't look nothing like, no, I have some similarities to some Nigerians, but living here in East Africa, they always think that I'm either from Tanzania or they think that I'm from Southern Africa. They never think I'm from West Africa. And when I went to West Africa as a Black American, they knew I wasn't from there because of my complexion. When I was in Ghana, they knew I wasn't from Ghana. They knew I wasn't. So that's not true. All Black Americans or African American Americans are they're not from West Africa. All of us are not from West Africa. I look more like a Tanzanian or Southern Africa. I'm a Bantu. So that's showing you that's not true. You can look at me and tell I'm Black American, but I don't look like I'm from Nigeria. I mean, there's some women that look like me there, but when people see me, the first thing they think of when I wrap my hair and I go out, they'll ask me, are you Tanzanian? Are you Tanzanian? Are you from Southern Africa? They'll say, are you from Kenya? Somebody asked me, was I from Mozambique? But they never asked me, am I from Nigeria? So we keep comparing. And I'm talking to you, Aunt Nam, because you coming hard with these white people. Aunt Nam, you can't keep comparing us to white Mzungu people because we're not them. We're African. We don't have the same DNA. EBB1, EBB1. We got the same DNA as Africans. We are not Mzungu. They don't have the same E1, B2, B1. They don't have the same DNA. We're not white people. And you keep saying, well, the European this and the European that. We're not Europeans. We're different from these folk. We're Africans. We were stolen from Africa. That's the part that I'm not sure. I think that's the disconnect with some continental Africans. They think we are like white people. We're not white people. We're not Mzungu with them. We talk like them. We was raised with them, but we're not them. Our bloodline is not them. And we don't expect someone to give us anything. We don't have a welfare mentality. Just because we got a welfare system in America don't mean all of the African Americans have a welfare mentality. Because if we had a welfare mentality, we wouldn't even be over in Africa, because we would want to stay in America and keep mooching off the system. So all of us don't have a welfare mentality. If we're over here in Africa, we spent money for tickets. We spent a lot of money, brother. Okay, so Nam says, so you look lighter and fit in with East Africa. It was East and Southern Africa or something. He said that they mixed. No, I'm not mixed. My bloodline is not mixed. There are Africans, which you know, Aunt Nam. There are Africans that are light. The Chaga tribe in Tanzania, the Xhosa, and some of the Zulus, they don't mix with white people, and they are African. Just because we have a light skin does not mean that we are mixed with Indian or Arab or white Mzungus. So this is the problem, because you guys think, and this is I'm seeing what the problem is. A lot of continental Africans think because we're from America that we're mixed up. All of us are not mixed up. All of us are not mixed up. You know? So you keep comparing us to European folk. We're not them. We were stolen. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this again. We were stolen from Africa over 500 years ago. We are coming back home to Africa. Africa is our motherland, just like it's the continental African's motherland. Look at it like the prodigal son. We are the prodigal child. Read the Bible. It explains what a prodigal son is. That's who we are. So we're coming back for what is ours, but we got our brother over here that's feeling some kind of way, and they don't want us to get what's rightfully ours, and you feeling like we feel entitled because we've been gone, and now we coming back and we expect something. We deserve something. And we deserve something. And that's the whole thing. Exactly, Janelle. I mean, I know that, Janelle, but my continental, I think my brother I've been talking to, he's a continental African, and he keep comparing us to white people and welfare mentality. You know, what is it about a welfare mentality where we're asking not to have to pay all this extra money to be over here in our motherland? That's all we asking. Make a situation or set up a organization or a program to where we can come on in, something like they did with the Jamaicans, where they come into Tanzania visa free. Yep. You know, set something up like that for us. Not only visa free, to where you know legitimately that Africa belongs to us too as a prodigal son. Can we work something out to where we can come and not have to spend thousands of dollars just to be here? Somebody said somebody, could I be? No, I'm not. I'm from East Africa. My ancestors were in East Africa. My spirit knows that. I don't have to do a man-made DNA test to tell me that I'm not Nigerian, or I'm not from, put it this way, I'm not from West Africa. I've been there. I've been to Kenya. I went there for 2 weeks before I came here. And when I was there, my spirit did not feel like this is my home. I love Ghana, but I didn't feel the way I do in Tanzania. So I'm telling you, not all Black Americans are Nigerian. Not all Black Americans is from the West Africa. We're from all over the continent. So I seen them in Vietnam. I know the foundational Black Americans and the African descendants of slaves. I know both of those organizations. I'm not part of neither one of them, and I don't subscribe to some of the stuff they say. That's them. Not all Black Americans feel that way. It's a lot of us that feel like we come from East Africa. Some of us did tests and found out we're Bantu and we're from somewhere in East Africa. Not only West Africa is coming up on our DNA. I don't do DNA because I don't trust it. Yeah, foundational Black Americans, African descendants of slaves. I don't subscribe to that thinking. All of us are different. It's a lot of African Americans and we're all different. All of us don't subscribe to that. So you can't group all of us together and think we're proud to be mixed with Indians and white people. Like as far as I know, my father and everybody in his line is Black, and they dark Black. I just come out light like my mom, but I feel like I'm 100% Black, just like the Xhosa, just like some of the Bantu, light-skinned Bantu tribes, like the ones here in Tanzania. There's a lot of light-complected Africans here. The Chaga here in Tanzania, they're light skinned. And I asked one of them, I asked them, are the Chagas, are they white people? They say, no, they're Africans. I said, okay, we come in different complexions. We come in different complexions. We don't have to be mixed with white to have light skin. Right. African Americans are African. And they deserve exactly awakening child. Thank you for that comment. African Americans are Africans, period, and they deserve to be in Africa just as much as the continental Africans in the story. That's what I'm saying. So maybe this entitlement attitude that some African Americans have about having to spend a lot of money to live in Africa is warranted. It's warranted. And now, exactly, that's true. The Jamaicans, yep, they did work a deal. They did work a deal with the Jamaicans to right. So, and now what does that have to do with African Americans being part of, like, you walking all around the truth of the matter is Africa belongs to us just like it belongs to continental Africans. We are entitled to it. Because it's our motherland too. We just been taken away. Like we're the prodigal son. Like I keep saying that, and you keep bringing up other stuff because you jumping all around the fact that Africa belongs to the African Americans, the African Latinos, or African wherever you Afro-centric people dispersed. Africa belongs to them just like it does the ones that weren't stolen away. The continental Africans. You can't deny that. Santino, yeah, that's true. Okay, let's see on your experience. Yeah, exactly. Event on scene. Exactly. So no, Aunt Nam, I said they should work a plan with immigration just like they did for the Jamaicans. So, they worked a plan with, the Tanzanian government with the Jamaicans that allowed them to have visa free. They should work something out to where they allow Afro descendants that were stolen from Africa, that was dispersed, a special deal to where when we come back home to Africa, all of us are not coming. All of us don't want to come, but there are some who do want to come, like myself. When we come back, they make a little easier for us to be able to stay here. That's what I'm saying. Because we are entitled, because the motherland, we are entitled to say that Africa belongs to us as well as the local Africans. Africa is for the Africans, dispersed here and abroad, everywhere. Africa is for all of us. I'm not talking about white people. I'm not talking about Indians. I'm not talking about Chinamen. I'm talking about Africans. Africans. Let's bring it into Africans. Okay, let's bring it in. Mambo Paula, Mambo Dada. I mean Paula, Fiona, Paula. Welcome to the chat. So that's basically what I'm saying with the entitlement conversation. We do, I guess, to summarize it all, we do feel entitled as Afro descendants to Africa, to the motherland, because it's our mama land too. And nobody should have a problem with us feeling like we complain about having to pay a lot of money to stay here. No one should, people should understand. You should be understanding. Why do they? I wonder why they feel entitled to not have to pay like the white people. We're not white people. We shouldn't have to pay what white people pay. We should have to pay what Chinamen pay. We should have to pay what Arabs and Indians and all of them pay. They got their own country. Europeans got Europe. Chinamen got China, Japan and Korea. Indians got India. Spanish got Portugal, whatever. What we got? We got Africa. And we don't have America. Because that's a European country, so stop the cat. Okay, stop the cat. Service and education and advocacy go. You can start a change. Santino Olifa. I do videos like this so we can talk. Like, everybody should know this already. So us talking about this, if people want to feel the way they do, right? They want to feel the way they do about African Americans coming over to Africa. They want to feel the way they do. Like, they gonna feel the way they do. It don't matter how many groups that I set up. And I'm not a group person. I started a group when I first got over here. We had the largest Tanzanian repack group in Tanzania when I first got here in 2020. It was a nightmare. I was feeling anxiety like I was in America, y'all. And I had to get out the group. I just left the group because it was just too much. I can't do groups, but I'm praying that through this stream and other ones that continental Africans would look within and think about everything. Study the transatlantic slave trade and understand why we feel entitled to the motherland. Why we feel like we should be able to come home and not have to pay all that money. Like white people do. Like, we're not them. We're not like these other nations. We're different from them. So we shouldn't be compared to them. We should have to do what they do. And as far as continental Africans going over to America, America's a European country. That's not our country. We lived there. We were born and raised there. And we built that country, but it's European. So those immigration and all the stuff Africans have to pay, they choosing to do that. We try to come back home and be home where we come from. So, yeah, hopefully the government will work something out through the entire 54 countries on the continent and allow the Afro descendants to come back and work something out so we don't have to pay so much money. We're not asking for something that rightfully shouldn't be done for us. We don't have a welfare mentality where we're asking somebody to give us something for nothing. I've been in Tanzania for 4 years. And it's a lot of the diaspora that have been in the different countries for several years, and nobody's giving us anything. We're not having our hands out, welfare mentality, asking somebody to give us something that's not rightfully deserved, that we don't rightfully deserve. So, yeah. But anyway, Africa is home. Nakmizi, America is your country. America is not my country. I've been told ever since I was born that, N-word, go back to Africa. So Americans been telling me as a Black American, go back to Africa. So I'm at home. They tell you with their own mouth, go back to Africa. N-word. Black Americans, go back to Africa. They tell you every day, and you still think that America is your country. Stop the cap. You can't think that. You can't. Yeah, they burned down Black Wall Street. You know, they burned down everything we build, but you think that's your country? Stop it. No, America's not my country. I never felt, even from birth, even from a child, when I watched the Roots movies and the Queen movie, I never felt that America was my home, ever. They never made me feel welcome. America is a European country, and I'm not European. I am African, and Africa is for the Africans. Yeah. So, anyway, it is going to be difficult, but it's a possibility. And now stop. I never felt as a Black American growing up in America, I never felt welcome. I never felt at home. White people forever was telling me, go back to Africa, go back. I'm finally back where they tell me to go. Because Europe, America is the European power. It's a European country, just like the rest of the NATOs. All those are European countries. So when they say go back to Africa, they telling you where you belong. I don't know how many times these white people got to tell you go back to Africa. They telling us to do it. They tell you go back to your home. So now that we trying to come back to Africa, we trying to come back to where we belong. Now we got continental Africans telling us, oh, you feel entitled. What you coming over here for? You know, you trying to claim. Stop it, y'all. Everybody, please stop the madness. It's madness. It's madness, y'all. Not easy. No. The first slave trade was by Arabs, and it was right here in East Africa. We're all not from West Africa. No, it was a migration. We are Bantus. Most of the Bantu, as I said, we need to do a history lesson. Go back to the Arab slave trade. It started in East Africa before Mzungus, before the transatlantic slave trade. You got slave castles here. You got them in Zanzibar. You got Prison Island, and you have right here in Bagamoyo, and I visited the slave fort. So it started in East Africa. You have a lot of Bantu tribes in East Africa. So we ran into West. So we're from everywhere. Majority of the Bantu people, which that's what African Americans are. We're Bantu people, and we're from East, middle, like the Congo, Angola, Congo, and Southern Africa. That's where we're from. We ran into West Africa, a lot of us. So no, we're not all from Ghana and Nigeria. Yeah, we're not all from there. But anyway, I'm gonna end this stream, y'all. Hopefully someone will get something out of this conversation, because, you know, we need to do a history. We need to read. We need to study these different, slavery things, because everybody keeps saying that African Americans are from West Africa. We're not all from West Africa. We ran into West Africa. We weren't all there. We're not from there. We dispersed during the Bantu migration. Study the Bantu migration. The Black people in America are Bantus. Those are Hebrews. Those are Israelites. We're Bantu people. And most of the Bantus in East, Mid, and Southern Africa. Yeah, do your history lesson. I'm about to end this stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for checking it out. I'm going to do another one soon when I think of a good topic. So hopefully people will learn from this and understand why we as African Americans feel entitled to be able to come back home to the motherland and live peacefully and love and work together and build the continent of Africa. We're not trying to take from nobody. We're not trying to hurt nobody. We're trying to come back home. And people seem to have a problem with that, and I don't understand why. But anyway, have a good one, everybody. Talk to you guys soon. And thank you. Please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe on my channel, Diaspora Connect Tanzania. I do travel and business consultations. If you're interested in visiting Tanzania or doing business, hit me up at diasporaconnect0@gmail.com, diasporaconnect0@gmail.com, and I can help you with a travel or business consultation. So thumbs up on this, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or the next video.